They thought Geneva would become Meghan Markle's grand transformation moment, the night she would finally walk out of the shadow of royal gossip and into the glowing spotlight of global stateswoman power. But instead, what unfolded in that square may have exposed the deepest problem haunting the Sussex brand for years, the terrifying possibility that the audience simply stopped caring. Because this was not some random charity ribbon cutting hidden away in a hotel ballroom. This was Geneva, the United Nations backdrop, the World Health Organization standing beside her, cameras positioned carefully, Armani pressed perfectly, security moving like a presidential convoy, every visual element screaming importance. And yet the atmosphere around Meghan Markle felt hauntingly empty. Not metaphorically empty, literally empty. Cars kept driving past. Tourists wandered through the square without slowing down. A woman pushed a pram directly past the speech area without even turning her head. Another pair crossed the road behind the lectern before the speech even finished. The city carried on as if nothing historic was happening at all. And that silence was louder than applause. The brutal part is that on paper, this should have been a triumph. Meghan had landed one of the biggest international bookings of her post-royal life. Standing beside who Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus was supposed to elevate her beyond celebrity gossip forever. Royal commentators openly described this as her Angelina Jolie moment, the chance to reinvent herself as a serious humanitarian figure, the kind of opportunity most public figures spend years begging for behind closed doors, and insiders knew it too. These kinds of invitations do not magically appear. Institutions choose people very carefully for stages like this, which means somewhere inside powerful international circles, someone truly believed Meghan could carry this image. But then came the problem that now has journalists practically banging their heads against desks in disbelief. 24 hours before the speech, Meghan posted that Instagram picture, and the second it appeared online, people inside media circles reportedly knew disaster was coming. The image looked innocent at first glance. Meghan inside a luxurious walk-in closet wearing a lilac coat. At her feet, her 4-year-old daughter crouched beside her. Warm mother-daughter energy. Softness. Intimacy. But then viewers started looking deeper. The Armani jacket prepared for the Geneva speech hanging carefully in frame. Expensive shoes positioned visibly near the mirror. Endless rails of luxury clothing filling the background. One British journalist estimated the visible wardrobe alone may have totaled nearly $250,000. Suddenly, the sweet family moment stopped looking accidental. It started looking like a luxury merchandising campaign disguised as motherhood. And the timing made everything worse. Because Meghan wasn't posting from vacation. She wasn't celebrating a birthday. She was hours away from delivering what was being framed as the most important humanitarian speech of her entire career. Yet instead of priming the public for the actual cause, the conversation online became completely consumed by the closet, the designer clothing, and the child centered in the image. Experienced royal correspondents were reportedly stunned. One journalist admitted he genuinely thought he must have been hallucinating after seeing the post late at night because he could not believe anyone preparing for a major United Nations appearance would upload something so catastrophically tone-deaf the night before. And then Geneva happened. Meghan delivered the speech professionally. Nobody denies that. Her posture was controlled, her cadence polished, her appearance immaculate. But the problem wasn't her delivery. The problem was the visual reality surrounding her. Because while she stood at the lectern dressed like a global stateswoman, the crowd behind the cameras barely existed. The wide shots became vicious online ammunition almost instantly. Royal commentary channels froze individual frames and started dissecting them like crime scene evidence. One observer joked that if you removed the security staff and media crews required to attend professionally, the square would have been emptier than a Tuesday bus stop. And then came the comparison nobody inside the Sussex operation wanted. Just days earlier, Catherine, Princess of Wales, had appeared in Italy to enormous crowds. People reportedly traveled hours simply to see her arrive. Streets packed, genuine excitement, cameras flashing, locals emotional. Catherine speaking Italian naturally with children while interacting effortlessly with educators and families. Royal historians describe the atmosphere as one of the most authentic royal receptions in years. Now place those images beside Geneva. 2 royal women, same continent, same month, completely different public reactions. And suddenly the contrast became impossible to ignore. But the real dagger came the next morning from American television itself. ABC's Good Morning America had every opportunity to lead coverage with Meghan's Geneva speech. Huge global platform, WHO partnership, international diplomacy visuals. Instead, their social media coverage focused on the Instagram picture with her daughter, not the speech, not the humanitarian message, the daughter. That editorial choice may have revealed more than the speech itself ever could, because it quietly exposed what actually drives engagement around Meghan Markle now. Not policy, not global causes, personal family imagery, emotional branding, lifestyle visuals. The algorithm had spoken brutally clearly, and underneath all this sits the darker financial pressure commentators increasingly whisper about. Maintaining the Montecito lifestyle reportedly costs millions annually. Security alone drains enormous sums. Business ventures have struggled. Spotify collapsed. Netflix cooled. Hollywood doors did not swing open the way many expected after the royal exit, which means every Instagram post becomes part of something larger, not random sharing, but survival economics. Suddenly, that closet image starts looking less like a mistake and more like strategy. A calculated engagement play designed to maximize attention no matter how awkward the timing looked beside a humanitarian event. And now, another uncomfortable pattern is making commentators deeply uneasy. Archie appears less and less in public content. Meanwhile, Lilibet increasingly becomes the emotional centerpiece of carefully curated images. Several observers quietly raised the possibility that an older child may already be expressing discomfort with public exposure, while a younger child cannot yet fully do so. Once that observation entered public discussion, people could not stop noticing it. And history offers terrifying examples of what happens when celebrity families blur the line between parenting and branding. And what makes this entire Geneva disaster feel even more explosive inside royal circles is that people are no longer looking at these incidents as isolated mistakes. They are starting to connect them like puzzle pieces. The empty square, the wardrobe post, the endless staff turnover, Harry disappearing from key appearances, the collapsing credibility of projects that once looked untouchable. Suddenly, commentators are no longer asking whether the Sussex strategy has problems. They are asking whether the strategy itself is the problem. Because look at the pattern carefully. Centibale, Harry's beloved African charity founded in Diana's memory, descended into public governance chaos. Trustees resigned. Internal tensions exploded publicly. Questions emerged that damaged the humanitarian image Harry spent years carefully building. Then came the quiet collapse of Arkwell Foundation itself, the very institutional backbone that was supposed to support the entire post-royal empire. That alone stunned insiders. Arkwell was supposed to become their legacy machine, their philanthropic fortress. Instead, the foundation reportedly faded into uncertainty, while the brand itself became increasingly dependent on celebrity engagement cycles rather than institutional credibility. And now Geneva enters that same pattern. Another serious platform. Another chance to reset public perception. Another opportunity drowned under contradictions almost instantly. That is the part making veteran journalists visibly frustrated, because they can see the opportunities. They can see the access Meghan and Harry still somehow managed to secure. But every time the couple reaches a serious stage, something happens that drags the entire moment back into celebrity spectacle, and the public notices it immediately. Even Meghan's appearance itself became part of the conversation. The Armani suit, the jewelry, the styling, the ultra-controlled visual presentation. On their own, none of those things would normally create backlash, but standing before a global health audience while appearing wrapped in staggering visible luxury immediately created another optics problem, especially after the closet photo had already primed audiences to focus on the wealth surrounding her. Suddenly, every visual detail felt loaded, every diamond looked louder, every polished angle looked calculated, and once viewers start questioning authenticity, every image becomes evidence. Then came the whisper growing louder behind palace walls and across entertainment media alike: where was Harry? Years ago, the entire Sussex machine was built around the idea of Harry and Meghan versus the institution, the inseparable duo, the united front, the global power partnership. Yet now, increasingly separate appearances, increasingly solo branding, increasingly noticeable absences. Geneva was supposed to be Meghan's defining humanitarian moment, yet Harry did not appear beside her, did not amplify the event publicly in any meaningful visible way, and did not participate in the imagery surrounding the trip. In royal gossip culture, absences are never treated casually. Absence becomes narrative fuel instantly, and this is where the atmosphere around the Sussex marriage itself starts feeding directly into the Geneva fallout. Because observers are beginning to notice something unsettling, the original emotional chemistry powering the brand no longer dominates the public image the way it once did. The together against the world energy appears thinner now, more fragmented, more corporate than emotional. And when a brand built on emotional connection starts losing visible warmth, every cold public moment suddenly lands twice as hard, including a speech delivered to a half-empty square while your husband remains entirely absent from the picture. But perhaps the most brutal layer of this story is the comparison Meghan can never seem to escape anymore, Catherine. Because whether fair or unfair, audiences are comparing the two women constantly now, and the timing could not have been worse. Catherine had just completed a tour overflowing with organic public enthusiasm, crowds screaming her name, families emotional just seeing her step outside a vehicle, children connecting naturally with her, cameras capturing moments that looked spontaneous instead of manufactured. Then days later came Geneva, where the cameras instead captured passersby ignoring Meghan altogether. The contrast became almost cinematic in its cruelty, and inside media circles one terrifying phrase reportedly keeps surfacing: the goodwill is gone. That may be the deepest wound revealed by Geneva. Not hatred, not attacks, indifference. Because outrage at least means people still care emotionally. Indifference is colder, more dangerous. A silent crowd walking past your biggest speech without stopping is infinitely more haunting than protesters screaming outside the barricades. That is why this weekend shook commentators so deeply. Geneva was supposed to prove Meghan Markle could finally transcend the gossip machine. Instead, the gossip machine swallowed the entire event alive before the speech even ended. The closet image overshadowed the cause. The daughter overshadowed the speech. The luxury overshadowed the humanitarian message. And the empty square overshadowed everything.